everyone. Welcome to another one of our webinar series, A Day in the Life of. Today we are very, very excited to have Julian on board with us. He is an auditor. Julian, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day this Monday afternoon, quite late, and giving us an opportunity to talk to you about your career.
It's a pleasure, Priya.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's get started. As I said to you off screen just now, it's actually very interesting. You are an auditor, but your LinkedIn page says you are a digital assets practice leader. Maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'll just give a bit of a intro as to my background and what I do day to day. So I do fulfill quite a number of different roles in my position as an audit partner. So essentially, there's several different sides to the job. I'll just take each one separately. So there's the audit side, which is sort of the technical part of the business and the product we deliver. We specialize in the hedge funds space, so Cayman Islands domiciled hedge funds. So just think investments, rich people's money, that type of thing. So these are all hedge funds set up for ultra high net worth individuals. I spend a lot of my time working on the valuations of all sorts of different investments. So that could be private equity, it could be real estate, it could be normal listed bonds or equities, it could be derivative contracts like options and futures and forwards. So that's what I spend a lot of my time on as sort of the technical part of my role. On the other areas of my role would be sort of client side. So that would be going to lunches with the clients every now and then. It will be having calls with prospective clients to find out what services they need from us, preparing quotations and proposal documents to see if we can bid for the work. Then I manage a staff of about 36 in Cape Town. So there's the whole staffing side of my role. So there I'm involved in recruiting new staff, doing all the job interviews, dealing with staff issues, which can be anything from someone that's maybe not performing very well to things like we had a staff member last year that got cancer and how to help them through that. Fortunately, he's recovered and doing very well. A lot of coaching staff, so that can be junior staff just entering in, or it can be senior staff, which is a lot about teaching them how to work with the staff under them, how to support people working with them, how to fulfill the culture of the organization. Sometimes it just need a pep talk for the whole group when it's going to be a tough month. Get everyone going and ready. And then it's arranging social events for everyone so that we can blow off some steam. Yeah. So that's quite a nice part of the job as well. And then lastly, sort of the operational side of the business, that would be like normal budgeting, because essentially audit is just the type of business. So it's budgeting, monthly accounting. I focus on our IT infrastructure, so I'm responsible for all the software we use, cybersecurity, making sure we're covered for any threat actors, hacking, spam emails, all of that. We recently built out office, quite a large office space. Yeah. So that's the planning process, looking for furniture, lighting, battery backup, everything got to do with that. Social responsibility, so environmental initiatives that we've got. We donate our used computers to underprivileged non-profit organizations. And then lastly, just sort of strategic thinking about which way the business is going in the future, where we want to focus our energy, how many staff we need. Okay. So that's all the different boxes that I tick sort of on a week-to-week basis.
Sure. Julian, you are a man who wears many hats on any given day. I can see that for sure. I have very, very many questions from you. Definitely some keywords over there that we're going to talk about. But let's start at the beginning. What did you study?
So I studied accounting at Stellenbosch. So we started, I think you had a chartered accountant on the show last week. So basically the same route as that. So it's start with accounting and accounting honors. And I thought I'd maybe just go into some of the subjects we study, because it sounds like you just do accounting, but accounting is only one of many subjects. So the subjects we cover is financial accounting. So that's
Yeah.
what most people would understand as accounting. We do management accounting. So that's a lot more about decision-making accounting. So that's more mathematical decision-making, what's profitable, what's not. Whereas financial reporting accounting is for annual financial statements, and there's lots of rules involved.
Yeah.
There's taxation, then there's audit. So that's all the different rules and regulations of how and when to audit. Taxation, law, so we cover all mercantile law, which is commercial law. So we do all the law subjects that relate to the commerce side of things.
Yeah.
Economics, statistics, theory of interest. So those are the key subjects
Sure.
that we cover.
Yeah.
And then it's the 2 board exams for the chartered accountancy.
Yeah.
And then learning is continual. So I've done some other certifications as well. So I've got a diploma in cryptocurrency and disruption from London School of Economics. I've got
Okay.
communications diploma from University of Cambridge, and a certificate in cybersecurity from University of Cape Town. So
Yeah.
those sort of additional things you'll do throughout your career, depending on what needs might arise and wherever you end up.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. I did see that on your LinkedIn page and I was immediately intrigued. Certified Bitcoin professional. What is that, Julian? Let's talk about that a
Sure.
little bit.
So everybody knows about the different bull runs that the crypto sector has had over the last number of years, $1 trillion or more asset space. So because we
Yes.
are auditing hedge funds, there are hedge funds that follow digital asset trading strategies. A specialization that I do is auditing crypto hedge funds and all sorts of digital assets. So it's not necessarily just cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Ethereum, but it could be also hybrid equity tokens. It could be SAFT agreements, anything where, or it could be NFTs as well, anywhere where a digital asset is involved. So that's sort of a sub-specialization that I have followed for about the last 7 years. Yeah.
It's very exciting. But I am curious, when you say auditing, and when I think about it from a South African perspective, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm very much not the expert here, but I have heard that sort of, that whole crypto world or industry
Yeah.
isn't legislated in South Africa. So how do you audit if the legislation isn't in place to regulate crypto in South Africa?
Sure. So there are some new regulations that have just come through in the last couple of months to regulate certain financial service providers in the space. It's not illegal to invest in crypto. It's a recognized asset class, so you can earn money in it, you can invest in it, you have to pay tax on it, everything like that. I'm going to focus a bit more on sort of the Cayman Islands is my specialty. So we're not really specifically working on South African crypto investments, but more offshore. And there it's the key things we're looking at is confirming the existence of cryptocurrency. So we have to do a lot of procedures to make sure that what the client has said they do actually have.
Yeah.
That becomes very complex when we're talking cryptocurrency, given the technological challenges and the very wide variety that's out there. It's not the same as just getting a bank statement or confirmation.
Of course.
And then
Yeah.
valuation.
I guess having advanced qualifications in cybersecurity are probably very helpful when you're assessing the crypto market from a Cayman Island perspective.
Yes, it does. So we do evaluate our clients' measures in place to ensure the security of their crypto. If they're taking a very laissez-faire approach, then they might be putting investor funds at risk. The cybersecurity diploma I also use in my role as sort of the IT overseer in just the business, the audit business that we run. So I'm able to use it there as well.
Okay, that's all very exciting. I'm gonna hone in because my audience is definitely interested on this. One
Okay.
of the things that students are always very, very interested to know is, they study a specific thing in South Africa. Is there an opportunity to go overseas with their qualifications? Now, I know for a fact that you've lived in the Cayman Islands for a little while. How did that whole transition happen? Was it from a work perspective? Did you have to do any additional studying in order to practice in the Cayman Islands?
So it was actually very easy, Priya. I did apply for a job um, in Cayman Islands. Within about a week, I found a place that I liked and that liked me, and that was that was the long and short of it.
Oh,
The CA designation is in the South African CA designation is very, very highly respected.
yes.
So in the Cayman Islands, there are a huge number of South African chartered accountants. Even in our Cayman Islands office, about 3/4 of the staff are actually South Africans. And
Oh,
then we've got
wow.
the South African office or the Cape Town office. So I would say in the company we're well over 3/4 South African residents, citizens. Yeah.
Okay. So immediately for my audience, we're running on 2 platforms at the moment, including YouTube. I have a question saying, where did you find this job in the Cayman Islands? So is it your usual sources like LinkedIn and other platforms, or how did you get this opportunity?
So I would say just Google like top 10 biggest accounting firms in the world. And then you just go to the Cayman Islands websites. You'll find an email address that you can apply through, um, or chat to a recruiter. They'll very easily be able to send you in the right direction. It's not difficult if you have strong performance history to get a job as a chartered accountant in the Cayman Islands or virtually anywhere in the world. There is a very significant shortage of chartered accountants currently across the world. So we're in very high demand. It's pushed up the salaries a lot for everyone over the last 5 years or so. So that's been great to see because chartered accounting salaries did stagnate for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Why do you think this is the case? Why do you think the shortage is existing at the moment?
Sure. So there's a number of factors. One factor is economic growth. So any business, any financial flow, there's going to be an accountant involved. It doesn't matter what type of business. So that's
Yeah.
one of the nice things is it doesn't matter if mining is doing well or if cryptos is doing well or if car manufacturing is going well. There's always going to be a need for accountants. So with a very significant economic growth in America, and internationally over the last decade, the requirements for accountants has just increased a lot.
I see.
Um, the other factor is that unfortunately in America, it's not very nice to be a CPA. It's very, very long hours. Not very, not, it's a bit of a thankless job, not always the nicest work environment, and it's sort of seen as a bit of a boring job to a lot of them, and
Okay.
so they've seen less and less people actually going into those uh, degrees. Everyone
Yeah.
wants to be an influencer these days.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that's one of the reasons. Obviously, I don't share that view. I think
Sure.
there's a lot of super interesting career paths in the chartered accountancy line.
So true. I mean, obviously, so you've got to go through the BCom, the accounting, the Psycho articles. I'm sure my audience is familiar with that. We don't need to go into the article perspective, but thereafter, I mean, you've ended up as a assets practice leader slash auditor, but it seems that there's a lot of avenues once you qualify as a CA. Maybe we can talk about those different avenues that students can
Sure.
pursue.
So I'd say very few chartered accountants end up doing what I'm doing as an audit partner.
Yeah.
Probably less than 1%. I'd say that the vast majority either become business owners themselves, so they see an opportunity, start a business, because you do 3 years of at least 3 years of articles where you're able to see how many different businesses operate, what works, what doesn't work. you've got a lot of inside information that you can go out into the market with and build a business on all the knowledge and experience that you've gained.
Yeah,
Sorry, my phone was just ringing here.
that's all right.
Alternatively, you'd get involved sort of on an executive level in other businesses. So you are a very strong business leader with experience. You join, even if it's not your own business, chartered accountants often end up in quite high positions in other businesses.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily have to be in a financial role.
Okay.
It can be in a more operational role. There's always finances involved, but you don't need to be the CFO to be the executive level of a business.
Okay.
Other sort of long-term career goals might be to be independent director on the boards of companies. So
Okay.
often a chartered accountant towards the end of their career might sit on the board of a big company like Eskom or Transnet or Sasol. You'll pretty much see on every board of every big company in South Africa, there's at least one chartered accountant.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. Let's just sort of park in the middle. So, qualifications wise, obviously, I heard you say the words performance history. So that, oh, excuse me. There's always an indication that the better your grades are, the better the firm you're going to get into to do your articles. Let's just talk about, for lack of a better expression, I'm going to call it soft skills. So, what kind of soft skills do you think? No, it's no problem. It's technically after hours. I can respect that people are looking for you. So we hear a lot about communication. That's the big one. You've got to be able to communicate with people. But in your opinion, as an auditor, what are the additional skills that you require in order to be a successful auditor?
Sure. So one very key thing I look at is integrity. To me, that's one of the most important things. I can very easily work with someone who might not be the most intelligent, but is very honest. I very much appreciate it if someone's made a screw up, that they just come to me and tell me and I can help them fix it, than sort of finding out from the client that something's happened. So that's key, just complete and utter honesty at all times. Communication skills is very important, especially written format. So there's a large amount of professional emails and report writing, and it's honestly one of the skills that I've seen be quite a big shortage these days. People don't like to read books anymore. It's just Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and whatnot.
Yeah.
Read books, as many as you can get your hands on. It will significantly improve your ability to discuss complex matters with a client, have professional emails, and have dialogues with clients over difficult items.
Yeah.
We do find that to be quite a challenge for some people. The brain power is there, the intelligence is there, the understanding of the subject matter is there, but difficulty in communicating it is sometimes a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Whatever career you want to go into these days, if you can't articulate yourself and listen to what it is that people are saying to you, you end up falling short. But I am curious now, Julian, I have to ask you, is there a particular book you're reading at the moment?
No. I tend to work quite a bit, and at the moment I'm working on some other initiatives sort of outside of work that's taking my time. But I remember when I did my articles, I used to take the train in Metro Rail, which was an interesting experience in and of itself, but it gave me a lot of time to read. So I'd read one book a week for a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was great, and grew up reading a lot.
That's
So I
fantastic.
recommend it even to my staff here if I see they're struggling with emails to read. There's a lot of things that can help you these days with drafting emails, artificial intelligence platforms that can proofread your emails, or application like Grammarly and all of that, but it doesn't replace just having good language skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the whole influence of AI in your industry, since I mean, it's a conversation everyone's having at the moment. How influential is, tools such as ChatGPT in your particular industry?
It's still very much in its infancy, but we are quite enjoying seeing some of the extra tools that it can give us. So we're using it to do more in-depth research on some of the private equity positions we audit. So where we used to need to go through 30 pages of Google searches to find all the relevant information we can that's public, we're able to use Copilot now, which will give us the highlights, and that's quite helpful. So it saves some time. Definitely researching certain topics, because we're always jumping between different industries and different geographies, to just be able to ask, okay, what are the key items to consider in Indonesia hospitality industry in the last 3 years. It can give some great information. So people are sometimes scared that their job will be replaced by AI. I tend to think that people who don't use AI will be replaced by people who do use AI. And I'm quite sure that when Excel and spreadsheets came out, that auditors were just as scared that their jobs would be replaced. But what ends up happening is that audit quality increases, instead of keeping the same level of audit quality and spending less time. We're able to test more. And especially these days with computer systems, it's very important to be able to get a higher degree of testing. There's some companies that issue thousands of invoices an hour. But to be able to deploy artificial intelligence to look for anomalies can help the auditor focus on more intelligently identifying risks than sort of taking a blunt instrument approach where they test every X number of items.
Yeah, it's work smart, not work hard. I think that's the world that AI is sort of pushing us into, which is good because we're saving time and it's making us more efficient.
Yeah, I had an example. So for the crypto, we use APIs, which is like it's an interface to talk to the client's exchange account. So for that, we do programming. Now, what took me about 2 months to do manually a few years ago, I thought, I wonder how quickly ChatGPT could do it, and it did it in like less than 5 minutes. What took me 2 months to do previously.
And was it as good?
It was much better.
Okay. So this, obviously, you mentioned something about being involved in a few initiatives. The use of AI tech is obviously helping you with that, I'm sure, Julian. And this sort of leads me, to a question. Earlier in the interview, you said, you explained all of the different tasks that you're involved with at work, and I know my audience would be very curious to know, out of the very many hats that you wear, Julian, what's your favorite part of your job?
That's a very difficult question, because I think what I like the most about my job is the ability to jump between doing various different types of things. I think if I was to do one component that I liked all day, every day, I'd get bored. So what I like is the ability to do various different things. I really enjoy the technical side of my job, valuations. I like doing the crypto part. I really enjoy coaching and mentoring staff. I enjoy the cybersecurity part of the business. So I'm just very fortunate in that I'm actually like everything that I do.
So do you think that that's you as an individual, or do you think that this is, if people have that skill or that need to have differentiating sort of elements to their job, they would do better as an auditor?
I think there's a lot of room for each person to find their own niche. So I wear these different hats because that's what I enjoy doing, and I'm able to contribute in all those areas. But there are many audit partners who just do audit, or might do audit plus one or two other things. So it really depends on your personality. Some accountants have a very sort of in one type of box, and they can do excellently in that. It's a great career, and some might want to get a bit more diversification. It just depends on what you like doing, where you can add value, what interests you.
All right. So is this the point where one, and my audience, considering the fact that they're students and graduates, is this where they should distinguish whether they want to become an accountant versus a chartered accountant? Let's start with what is the difference, and is
Sure.
this the point that they would have to make this distinction?
I would say it's a no-brainer to become a chartered accountant if you have the ability to become a chartered accountant. There's many more opportunities available internationally, and what you could do in different career paths. Normal accounting or professional accountants tend to stick with doing so they would generally do the accounting work that we end up auditing and reviewing.
Okay.
So it's great, career path. It's very stable. And I'm sort of hesitant to comment too much because I don't know many people in that field and what they have ended up doing. There's still a lot of opportunity to become a business owner and to get involved on an executive level. I would just find that chartered accountants have a higher success rate in doing more sort of high level or obtaining higher level jobs.
And then, I mean, I don't know if anyone in my audience has any questions with regard to this, but I do feel if you pursue the path of a chartered accountant, a lot more doors open up for you, essentially.
Yeah, completely agree. You can also, I believe, more easily go overseas because we're in high demand overseas, whereas other countries likely have sufficient amount of professional accountants that are able to do the accounting work. And it would be more difficult for a professional accountant to move from here to there because they then need to learn how that country's tax filing system works, all those sort of end applications.
Yeah.
Whereas a chartered accountant is usually further removed from I'd say that more nitty-gritty part of the work.
Are the systems that far removed from country to country that there would be significant sort of educating you would have to do for yourself if you move from, let's say, South Africa?
So if you just take SARS's e-filing platform where you log on to submit your forms, the VAT rules will be completely different in a different country. The forms you need to fill in will be completely different. There'll be all sorts of different processes that need to be followed. Now, a chartered accountant will still, see and be involved in that, but they won't be the person that needs to actually go and do that legwork.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Julian, we're running out of time. This always happens. I think we might have to, at some point here at Gradlinc, consider extending these into 45 minutes. But before we run out of time, I wanted to know, as an auditor, do you have any advice for my audience members who would be interested in pursuing a career path similar to you?
I'd say my best advice would be to pick the right firm to do your articles at. So they talk about the big four and the next four, which would be the next four biggest ones.
Yeah.
I would advise people to go to the next four companies. You tend to get a bit more experience because you're more involved in sort of a wider job role where you're working across instead of more siloed in one individual thing that becomes repetitive. So I do find that next four auditors tend to have a bit more hustle, tend to have a bigger ability to overcome complexities and problems because they had to problem solve a lot more when they were working on smaller companies and smaller teams.
All right, Julian, I'm sorry I have to interrupt you and
That's
say
okay.
my thanks now. Thank you so much for taking time off on this Monday afternoon. This has been such a pleasure talking to you, and we just want to wish you the very, very best with your job and your initiatives. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk again.
Thank you very much, Priya.
All righty, have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.